Everyone has heard of the new gender-neutral pronouns and the people who demand to be referred to as they and them instead of he or she, but there's more. There's always more. In 2016, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary added the honorific MX, which is what these people are now using instead of Mr., Mrs., or Miss, because they don't identify as being any particular gender. It's pronounced mix. Dictionary.com has also added MX as a real word, and Time magazine celebrated the new gender-neutral title, along with the usual Operation Mockingbird assets like BuzzFeed, HuffPo, the Washington Post, and others. And as you know, if you give the cultural Marxists an inch, they're going to demand a mile. And now they're trying to deem the terms ladies and gentlemen to be offensive. Since 2017, the subway system, known as the Underground or the Tube in London, has placed a ban on greeting passengers as ladies and gentlemen over the loudspeaker because it's discriminatory against people with other genders. They now greet passengers with the gender-neutral "Hello, everyone." The Transportation Department said they reviewed the language that they used in announcements and elsewhere and will make sure that it's fully inclusive, reflecting the great diversity of London. A few months later, the same change was implemented by the New York City Metropolitan Transit Authority for the subway system there. They now refer to the people with terms like passengers or riders, so they don't offend people who identify as any of the other dozens of supposed different genders that have been invented. The leaked Zoom meeting from Disney executives show that they too have also eliminated referring to parkgoers as boys and girls or ladies and gentlemen because some of the people who identify as one of the other 57 different supposed genders might feel left out. While it would be impossible to understand or even list all of the different genders liberals have come up with that they demand we refer to them by, they've also come up with a new gender they demand we go by. If you're under 25 or you work for a big corporation or got a new job over the last few years, you've probably been forced to take a diversity and sensitivity training class where they tried to indoctrinate you with this. But for the baby boomers out there, or those of you smart enough to avoid Twitter or fortunate enough to work for a normal company, I'll tell you, cisgender, spelled C-I-S, cisgender is the term, which means a person whose biology matches their gender identity. Or, in other words, a normal man or woman. Cis is some Latin word, I can't even keep up with it, but since it's not inclusive to say that boys have a penis and girls have a vagina, or to call them normal boys or girls if they're normal, the leftists have invented yet another term we're supposed to waste our brain cells remembering and get punished if we don't use it. If you're a normal person and refuse to call yourself a cisgender male or female and instead insist you're just a normal man or woman, that is now seen as bigotry and trans-exclusionary. And since words are violence to the Marxist, you're also a dangerous person. It's dangerous not to go along with them when they play make-believe. As you can imagine, they're also upset about things like gender reveal parties, where parents-to-be throw a party and reveal whether they're having a boy or a girl. The leftists want all children raised as neither boys nor girls, so they can decide later for themselves what gender they want to be when they grow up. Cosmopolitan magazine says, "Dear parents-to-be, stop celebrating your baby's gender," and is complaining about soon-to-be parents having gender reveal parties. And the writer, a proud feminist of course, said that she cannot stomach them and thinks cutting into pink or blue cake seems innocent enough, but it's not. The magazine goes on to say that the parties are potentially damaging to the children and that they don't actually reveal gender, they reveal anatomy. And it goes on to say that the reason we associate pink with girls is because of Adolf Hitler. Hitler, yes, Hitler feminized the color pink, Cosmo says, by forcing gays to wear pink triangles in the concentration camps during World War II. Seriously, they really blame Hitler for pink being feminine, and quote a baker who gets queasy from parents-to-be coming into their bakery and ordering gender reveal cakes for their parties. Banning gender reveal parties is a big goal of the LGBT extremists, who are horrified because they reinforce cisgender normativity, meaning the idea, the fact that there are only two genders. Of course, they're upset about heteronormativity too, an Orwellian term meaning that heterosexual couples are considered normal or the norm, which should be obvious, as has been demonstrated throughout all of history, but the gay mafia is trying to change that too. In 2015, not coincidentally the same year the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, schools across the country started banning the time-honored tradition of crowning a homecoming king and queen. San Diego State University was one of the first and decided to instead call them the Royals in order to be gender neutral and not discriminate against same-sex couples. Appalachian State University then started calling their homecoming king and queen the homecoming royals to be inclusive of the LGBTQAI+ students. The University of Minnesota, the University of Nebraska at Omaha, Purdue, Northwestern University, and many more then followed suit. It's not just colleges which are doing this. Many high schools are doing away with having a homecoming king and queen as well, since the Marxists are coming for the children and aiming to indoctrinate them into their upside-down ideology in order to mold them into good little commies who hate every normal American tradition. In 2016, Teen Vogue magazine announced that they would stop portraying heterosexual people as the norm, saying they're making a concerted effort to limit and eventually banish heteronormativity from all of their content. 17 magazine, another magazine geared for teenage girls, also said that they would stop treating cisgender and heterosexual people as the norm. The announcement was accompanied by a video featuring a bunch of kids complaining about people using gender-restrictive pronouns like he and she. But it's not just colleges, high schools, and magazines aimed at teenage audiences. They're coming after preschoolers. Last year, to celebrate LGBT Pride Month, Blue's Clues, a cartoon on Nickelodeon aimed at children 3 to 5, aired a sing-along featuring a drag queen who sung a song about how great gender non-binary people are. Yes, a literal drag queen on Blue's Clues being promoted to children. But they don't just want children to hang out with drag queens now at the local library for Drag Queen Story Hour, where drag queens read books to the children about boys wearing dresses or changing their gender. They want the children to dress in drag. There are numerous preteen child drag queens that the mainstream media has celebrated over the last few years, like Lactatia, whose mother started dressing him in drag when he was 8 years old. And of course, Desmond is amazing, who's been doing it since he was 11 at least. He's the one who was featured on ABC's Good Morning America, introduced by a salivating Michael Strahan and an audience of adults who, instead of gasping in horror that an 11-year-old boy is doing drag shows at gay bars and having men throw dollar bills at him when he dances around on stage doing simulated stripteases, they thought it was exciting. E the Dragnificent is another drag kid who's been doing it since before he was a teen. Of course, these kids' parents promote them on social media, and some of them are even blue check verified. MTV, always on the cutting edge of cultural decay, decided to make their MTV Movie Awards show genderless in 2017 and eliminated the usual categories of Best Actor and Best Actress and bragged that it was the first gender-neutral awards show in history. The first presenter was a D-list, no-name actress named Asia Kate Dillon, who was in Orange is the New Black on Netflix and the Showtime series Billion, where she plays, where this person plays a gender non-binary character, and of course identifies as a non-binary person in real life and uses they/them pronouns. Emma Watson won the first gender-neutral award that night for her role in the live-action Beauty and the Beast, and, as expected, gave a speech about how progressive the new format for the show was. Instead of the usual awards for acting, directing, and screenwriting, the MTV Movie Awards gives a trophy for unique categories like Best Villain, Best Fight, and Best Cameo. And the Best Kiss Award that night was given to two men for a gay coming-of-age film that they were in. In previous years, it had been given to on-screen couples like Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling for The Notebook, and Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart for the Twilight series, but that's heteronormativity and needs to stop. If you like my serious monologues like this, then you should really read my books like Liberalism Find a Cure, The True Story of Fake News, or Hollywood Propaganda, How TV, Movies, and Music Shape Our Culture, which are all very serious books that thoroughly document this. So order them in paperback from Amazon.com or download the ebooks from Kindle, iBooks, Nook, or Google Play. And of course, there's a link to the Amazon listing in the description below, so click it and head on over there and check them out.